This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
Well, that was certainly better than last week against the New Orleans Saints. My goodness. The Greg Bedard Podcast with Nick Cattles, brought to you by Legends, a premium athletic apparel built for the modern athlete, owned by some of your favorite athletes, including Willie McGinnis, number 55 himself. Greg, before we get into the game and the film breakdown, just a couple of things outside of the game that I wanted to ask you about. First, we had the quick embrace in the postgame between Belichick and Brady, and I feel like the Belichick haters were lining up to kill him because, it was a 2-second hug. But then we found out that Brady and Belichick met for 15, 20 minutes in the Tampa Bay locker room area, undisclosed room. And it seemed like it was a pretty good meeting. Just your thoughts on that meeting and why it happened, when it happened.
Yeah, Nick, I don't know if I said it on here last week or I don't know. I did a bunch of interviews last week, so I'm not sure where I said it. But basically, I hit the double fecta with the. I thought that there would be a half hug embrace on the field, and I did mention that I thought there would be a behind the scenes meeting, possibly in the Buccaneers locker room. Now, I didn't have any inside information on that. It's just normally the way things go. So that's what I expected. I didn't expect anything huge on the field, just, good enough, love you, bro. See you later. And the locker room thing, it's not a big deal to me. I've seen Bill do that before, whether it's he's met with coaches, assistant coaches, other players. I've seen him do it before a handful of times. So that he did that is not unusual to me. I think it's good that they got that time together by themselves. And, I assume it was, there's really in the visiting locker room at Gillette, there's basically like one doorway that leads to the training room and where the coaches get dressed and stuff like that. So there's plenty of space back there for them to have a little private conversation. I bet it was held in the training room, since it seemed like it was pretty late in the night where most of the guys were gone and on the buses, and Brady he went straight from there to his press conference. So that things went down the way it did does not surprise me at all. I think that's par for the course. It's good that it happened, and I think it gives everybody sort of a clean departure from here, and everybody can move on.
It gives them the closure. They finally had some person-to-person closure with what's happened over the past year plus. The second thing, quickly, there is this tit for tat happening between Belichick and Seth Wickersham. You talked about Seth last week. You are friends with Seth. You respect his work. You trust in his work. Belichick on Greg Hill yesterday said that he doesn't even think he's ever spoken to Wickersham. Wickersham quote tweeted that tweet that was sent out and said, "That's kind of strange. I've spoken to Bill, recorded on the record before," and he listed some of the things that he's actually spoken to Bill about, including Brady himself and the draft, etc. What do you make of this back and forth? Is it just Bill being Bill, just trying to swipe this off as an unnecessary distraction? And Wickersham has receipts, which obviously will make Bill look pretty bad.
Yeah, I think that Bill's just trying to get rid of the story as cleanly as possible. He knows that a great majority of the people around here will just take him at his word and just you say, "Oh, it's Seth Wicker scam again." Like, what's he ever gotten right? And like, even though his 2018 piece was 100% right and basically foretold the end of Brady and Belichick together, let's just completely disregard that. But I 100% believe Seth Wickersham here. Bill talks to a lot of people. I'm willing to bet pretty heavily that Seth has talked to him multiple times over the years, on the record, off the record. Maybe Bill was saying that because he didn't talk to him for this book, which Seth says in the book, in the forward to the book, that Brady and Belichick specifically didn't talk to him. But and Bill certainly has his way to get his point of view across to authors, columnists, myself included. Should he need to get something out without him getting his fingerprints on it? I mean, let's all be mature about this and realize what's going on here. And yeah, Bill's just trying to get rid of the story.
All right, let's get to the football game now. A fun game, a closer game than a lot of people expected it to be, including us. I think we both took Tampa laying the points. That was a mistake. Just first looking at the film, your overall big takeaway from what you've seen, looking at this team on Sunday night compared to what they looked like against the Saints, your big takeaway, Greg.
I think they made progress. I thought leaving the stadium on Monday morning about 4 a.m., I thought that they had made more progress than, watching back the coach's film this morning. I want to temper that a little bit. So people know, I've watched the whole offensive all 22. I've watched about a quarter of the defense. The defense was better. They spun the dial against Brady. They executed. That was nice to see. Still some big miscues. I thought, offensively, look, Mac played well. I thought he played well overall. Not too many dynamic plays, but I think most of his plus plays for me were against pressure. And, that's really where I am with this team, Nick. The bottom line is they can't block anyone. Like, and I'm sure we'll dig into it later, but like the offensive line can't block and multiple people. Isaiah Wynn can't block. Owenu gets benched. David Andrews now suddenly in the last 2 games can't block anyone. Shaq Mason has been fine. I mean, he wasn't perfect, but he was pretty good. And right tackle, we know, has been a disaster. The wide receivers can't block anyone. The tight ends can't block. The running backs can't pick up the blitz. Like, what? I don't understand what the hell is going on down there. Like, I have never seen anything like this from their blocking operation. And, for anyone out there, and I've even seen, I think the Ringer did something about Mac Jones's decision making and this and that. And first of all, just remember that most analysts, especially people who you don't really know their background and are younger, they come from a certain let's say bias when they look at certain players, and they're used to certain players and they prefer a certain type of player. Matt, there's been nothing wrong with Mac Jones's decision making. Has it been perfect? No, he's played 4 games. Did he miss Hunter Henry in the end zone, in the red zone? Yes. In this game, yeah, he needs to put it on him. But Mac Jones is doing just fine, and he's playing well. He's not being dynamic or anything, but that's because they're not freaking blocking for him, Nick. Like, it's unbelievable. They can't, even when they try to do a shot play, they never get to it because there's too much pressure. And so until that gets cleaned up, and I don't know how it's going to happen, Nick. I don't know. We're now 4 games into it. This is a group that the previous 2 years have been outstanding and really been the heart and soul of this team. And now there's failures all over the place. I think Bill needs to seriously consider making a coaching change on offense at the offensive line. It's that bad, or at least bring in somebody. Whether, I'm sure people will be Scarnecchia, whatever. I don't know whether he wants to come back. I'm not going to bother him, and I'm not going to ask him. Even though I have his phone number, I'm not going to bother him. But something needs to change because this is not sustainable for Mac Jones. It's not sustainable for this team. They have to clean up the blocking. It's not nowhere near good enough.
Yeah, and it's incredibly unpredictable. It's the most unpredictable thing about this team so far this season is the offensive line play. All of us, if you had to write down the givens about this team, I would imagine that everybody would say it was a given that this offensive line would be good. Maybe not everybody felt as bullish on this O-line as you and I did. We said this could be the best O-line in football this year. It could be top 3. I don't think anybody would have said, oh, that offensive line is going to stink. That offensive line is going to be unable to protect. So if they've got to send up the Dante signal, a la Batman signal, if that's what they got to do, that's what they got to do. A couple of other things before we move on here. So the fourth down decisions by Belichick, there was one near the end of the half, and then, of course, there was the end of the game one, 4th and 3. Let's start with the one near the end of the half. Was it the right decision by Belichick?
I like that decision, Nick. I even tweeted in real time. I was like, this is a big part in the game right here. I mean, if they give the ball back to Brady at midfield with them getting the ball to start the second half, all of your good work, and they were leading 7-3 at the time. So the game was exactly where the Patriots wanted it at the time. Going for it there and failing, and look, and the decision making here and at the end of the game, again, I think all roads trace back to the offensive line largely. Like if you have confidence in the offensive line and that you're going to get protection and Mac Jones isn't going to have, Devin White in his mug as soon as he turns around, then you probably go for it in both spots. But that's just not where the Patriots are right now. And you can't just, that's why you can't look at stupid win probability charts. Like, because it doesn't take everything into consideration, including the fact that your offensive line can't block and your tight ends can't block and your running backs can't pick up the blitz with consistency. And so to me, I thought it was a 4-point decision by Belichick. I think he thought, all right, I punt the ball. Hopefully Jake Bailey doesn't kick a touchback like he's been doing. And we pin him back. And look, I don't love my defense, but 95 yards in this amount of time, yes, they have timeouts. I have confidence that we're not going to give up a huge play. We're going to make Brady go 10 plays, whatever, to kick a field goal, and we can hold them to a field goal with 95 yards. Turning the ball over at midfield with that amount of time, all of a sudden you invite a lot more in, and I think by going for it, you increase the chances dramatically that the Bucs pick up 14 points and suddenly take a 17-7 lead before you touch the ball again. If you punt the ball, the worst it's going to be is 13-7 with 10 points, a field goal and a touchdown. You're within a score. So it's a 2-score difference to me, that decision. So for me, punting the ball there was about, we have the game where we want it. Even the best case scenario for the Bucs, we're still going to be within a score. It's still going to be where we want the game. And let's keep plodding forward and keep going and keep making this game go as long as possible. Make it a wrestling match as long as possible.
All right, so let's get to the 4th and 3 at the end of the game. I'll let you know quickly how I felt. I hated it. I hated the decision to kick the field goal at the end of the game. I hated it in real time. I hated it in the post game. I hated it more yesterday. I hate it even more right now on this Tuesday for many reasons. First of all, the third down play that you called before that fourth down decision was wide ass open. Jacoby Myers, Jones is going to put it on him, and if he does, Myers is going 20 yards. It gets batted down at the line of scrimmage. That play was wide open. You've got Mac cooking. I mean, he completed 18, 19 passes at one point consecutively. The Tampa Bay secondary stinks. So I look at this and I say, it's pouring rain out. It's a 56-yard field goal, which is obviously no gimme. And on top of all of that, if you make that field goal, Greg, Tom Brady will have about 55 seconds and 2 timeouts. All he's got to do is get into field goal range. I just saw on Sunday night last week, Aaron Rodgers with 37 seconds and no timeouts win the game with a field goal with Mason Crosby. So even if you make that field goal, I still think Brady beats you at the end of the game. So it's Mac Jones versus Nick Folk. 56-yard field goal versus 3 yards. The way Mac's been playing, even with the offensive line, I'm taking the risk. I'm going with the rookie. I'm saying I'm putting this in the quarterback's hands, who's been fantastic in this second half, aside from the awful red zone decision where he almost threw a pick. But, this is the moment. Let's go for the throat. You don't kick a field goal against Tom Brady. You go for the throat. You agree with me on the 4th and 3 at the end of the game. Why?
100%. Multiple reasons, some of which you've laid out. Number one, Tom Brady's on the other sideline. I don't want to hear anything from Belichick truthers about like, well, yeah, he hit it off the uprights. I mean, it was like 6 inches from a win. Like, it doesn't matter. Even if you make the kick there, Brady is coming back and beating your ass.
Yep.
Everybody knows it. It's what he's done for years, Nick. Like, it's not like there was 20 seconds left in the game or 10 seconds or, that's it. So that's number one. Brady's on the other sideline with 2 timeouts. Number 2, it's Nick Folk. He's like 80 and he has a bad leg. He's been battling an injury all year. You've never trusted him. I'm sure if I had the time to go back and look through all the game books, I'm sure there have been plenty of 50-plus field goals that Bill Belichick has passed up because it's Nick Folk. Okay? His consecutive kick streaks, none of them were over 50. His longest kick as a Patriot is 51 yards, and that was desperation to win the Jets game, I think. The last time he made a 56-yarder in a game was 2010. That was 11 years ago. And it's raining. It's pouring. Like, what are we doing here?
Nick Folk is snoring.
Yes.
I had a old man
So
jump
that's
out.
number 2. Number 3, Belichick's reasoning that 2-9 on third down, like his reasonings is complete BS. The Patriots didn't have many third downs the whole day. They stayed out of third downs. Probably, I didn't realize it until I went back and looked at the game book. But do you know how many third downs they had in the second half? 2. They only went to third down twice, and one was 3rd and 9, which they failed, and one was 3rd and 12. Not the same situation. In the first half, they had 3rd and 17, didn't pick it up. But guess what, Nick? On their touchdown drive to Hunter Henry, picked up 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 on a DPI, 3rd and 3, which is apples to apples to the situation that they were in. And 3rd or 4th, I forget the number of reasons I've had, is I completely agree with you. His team had battled their asses off to that point. Like,
Yep.
Reward the guys.
Yep.
Like, go for it. Be like, you guys have done exactly what I've wanted to. We've stayed within. All we wanted was a shot at the end of the game. Here's our shot, and we are taking it because we're 1-2, and we can't really. 1-3 is not good for us. It's not a death sentence, but it's not good for us. So we're going for it. And if I'm going down, I'm going down swinging. I mean, I just didn't understand it. I think it's. Nick, I think this reasoning that's out there, including from my boys Felger and Maz, which I will go after them about today, Bill didn't want Mac Jones to deal with the loss, that it was going to be on him.
Oh
I mean,
God.
Come on. Who are we kidding here? Like, these are the same people, mind you, that told you all offseason, there's no way Bill is going to start Mac Jones in the Tom Brady game. They don't want to hurt his feelings. They caught Cam Newton. He started this game. Bill doesn't care about any of that stuff. To me, Nick, I thought this decision was about a couple things. I thought it was, number one, Bill had little faith in his offense that they could actually offense and defense, that the offense could execute properly in a big spot against the speed of Tampa when they were going to come with an all-out blitz or something like that, which I'm sure Josh McDaniels had something good cooked up for. This is what you do. You game plan for this type of situation. And he probably had no faith that his defense was going to stop Tom Brady. They didn't stop Tua. They didn't stop Jameis in the same spot. They sure as ain't stopping Tom Brady. And I think that Belichick, by making this decision, I think he wanted to save face of Brady getting the ball back in any situation, if they made the field goal, that Brady comes down and wins the game in a walk-off against them on his home field. I think that he wanted to avoid all of that. And so Nick Folk, 56 yards, BS. Oh, he made it in warm-ups. We haven't made third down with his BS reasonings to it. To all of that adds up to Bill doesn't really need to take responsibility and can't really lose in the situation.
Hated it. Just every once in a while, you got to show your cojones. This is the head coach who went for it on 4th and 2 years ago against Peyton Manning.
Yep.
And everybody was like, oh my God, what's he doing? And, if you look back at that decision, which I roasted at the time, but you go back, he was ahead of his time. He was. what did LA do last night for anybody that watched that game? Brandon Staley has defined his football team. I'm not saying that Staley is a better coach than Belichick or anything, because some people will take that from this because it's 2021. Right. But Staley has defined his football team. Last night, he's going for it on fourth down multiple times. It's a huge fourth down in the fourth quarter, I think from his own 44, whatever it was, and he's going for it. And he's got the lead, and he's going for it because he is looking at his guys saying, this is the personality of this football team. This is what we are doing. If we can step on the throat, if we have a chance, that's what we're going to do. And the guy who called for a 4th and 2 against Peyton Manning years ago is staring at a 4th and 3 on his home field against a Tampa Bay secondary who has a bunch of Jags out there.
Yep.
Richard Sherman, who got his ass torched all night long.
They should have went after him more.
You have three starting secondary guys, 3 of your cornerbacks gone in this game. You've got you've got one of the safeties. I think it was Whitehead. I think, or it was I don't know, one of the 2 guys in the back end. He's getting evaluated for a concussion in the back. I mean, this is a bunch of dudes in that secondary. Yep. Drove me nuts. Let's talk about the defense for just a minute because I know you've only watched a quarter. Was it more about Brady being erratic off on Sunday night? Was it more about the Pats defense, or was it kind of just 50-50?
Yeah, I thought it was equal parts both. I thought they had a good plan. They really spun the dial. It's nothing, that we haven't seen from the Patriots in big spots. They didn't reinvent the wheel. I thought it was look, when in the conversations that I've had with Brady over the years, Brady always told me that Rex Ryan defended him the hardest, that Rex Ryan made him work the hardest. And I thought that this was a very Rex game plan from the Patriots, where you every snap, the where the rush is coming from is different. Every snap, the coverage is different. You're doubling a different guy every time. You just don't let the quarterback get comfortable, and it makes them, it's so mentally tiring that you're like, all right, well, pre-snap, I think this, and then post-snap, it's, and what they do last snap, and it's exhausting. And then Brady said basically the same thing to Peter King after the game, where he's like, I'm so tired. Like, they made Brady work. Now, in the early going from I've watched, Brady's missed some throws. I mean, especially in some big spots. Like, sometimes it's funny, Nick, sometimes he was in complete control, and deciphered well, and I thought that his receiver sort of let him down. I will say the Bucs are they're not a very clean operation in the passing game. Like, you can't, I don't think Brady, and it was obvious during the game, the only guy Brady really trusts in the passing game is Antonio Brown. I don't think he has a whole lot of faith. Godwin's a good player, but I don't think he has a lot of trust on where he's going to be or how he's going to react. Same thing with Mike Evans. I think that AB, he has a lot more faith in. But I thought Brady was just off on a lot of already. I have him down for 3 just bad throws. A couple to Cameron Brate. Not having Gronk out there really affected him. Just took another guy away that he trusts, Giovanni Bernard. But I thought that the Patriots also did, a nice job sort of mixing and matching. They covered well. And so I thought that was a good first step. I will say I thought it was best for Brady when they took control of this game, where Brady was just like what they didn't used to do against the Jets. The Patriots used to just kept throwing. They kept throwing and throwing against the Jets, against these light fronts. And I used to get on them all the time about, like, you need to be able to run in these situations.
Yep.
Well, in the second half, basically, Brady was like, especially that touchdown drive, Brady was just like, we're going to run every down. And I thought that gave them control. And I thought that was a mature decision and sort of, movement in the game for Brady and the Bucs.
I agree with you. I tweeted at halftime at Nick C Radio. If you want to follow me, everybody follows Bedard at Nick C Radio. I tweeted at halftime, the Bucs need to run the football a lot more.
Yep.
Patriots should never run the football again. That's kind of how the simple breakdown of that game. Like, the Patriots should not run the ball one more time in the second half. I don't care. Throw it 40. I don't care. And I thought that the Bucs, it was surprising to me because you and I talked about this last week. We thought the Patriots would play a lot of coverage against Brady. They were not going to allow him to throw for 500 yards. And we both thought that Leonard Fournette would have a big game. Hopefully, many of you bet the over on his rushing yards because it was still pretty low going into the game. But, when you look at it, first half, too reliant on Brady in the passing game. And then in the second half, when they did go to the run, their offense was much better. Let's tell you about Legends before we get to 3 Up, 3 Down. Legends is a premium athletic apparel company, and we're talking about this is built for the modern athlete, owned by some of your favorite athletes, including Willie McGinnis and many, many others. I think Steve Nash is another name that's on there. This stuff is top of the line. Look, Willie McGinnis, we know his career. Great NFL player. He's not going to get mixed up with something mediocre. He's not giving you anything average. He's giving you top of the line. Legends is top of the line stuff. Legends.com. You can use the code PATS20 to save 20% on your first order. Again, that offer ends on October 10th. So it's legends.com, PATS20, save 20% on your first order. Even Greg looks fantastic with this stuff on. It's tough to believe, but his kids, his wife, they're telling him he looks like the Dwayne Johnson walking through his house when he puts this stuff on. He looks like The Rock himself. Legends.com, PATS20, save 20% on your first order. And you can thank Willie McGinnis for this outstanding apparel. 3 Up, 3 Down, Greg. Let's start with 3 Up, my man. Who do you got?
Okay. Let's just stick with the offense for now because I don't want to speak out of my rear end. Right now, but I'm going to go Mac Jones. I thought he, overall, I didn't think he was perfect in this game. I did have him for 3 minus decisions all in the second half, including, on that near interception to Johnny Smith. Hunter Henry was open. He needed to put it on him. I know he probably saw Richard Sherman lurking, but he's got to put it on Hunter Henry. Just put it on him. And even a little bit back shoulder. We've seen him make that. I've seen him make that throw in practice 100 times, and it needed to be there. And I know Ndamukong Suh being in your face, like as soon as you turn around, is not ideal, but he needs to make that throw. That should have been a touchdown. It should have been an extra 4 points for the Patriots, and it was nearly disastrous. There was a check down to Damian Harris where he had a couple guys, I think Aguilar and Jacoby Myers deep down the field, and there was another decision I didn't like, but I don't know why I did that. So, number 1 was Mac Jones.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Mac Jones. He was really, really good. Give me your next up.
It's slim pickings. And I guess I'll say Jacoby Myers, but I didn't love. He should have had a fumble. They got lucky on that. He had a tough time run blocking, and I also had him for a drop. That he sort of turtled a little bit. I thought he should have caught that ball. But number 2 was Jacoby Myers for me.
I'm gonna go defense. I thought Matthew Judon was a machine. The guy's been good all year, and I thought he was terrific. One more. Do you have one more? Again, slim pickings.
Yeah, I guess I'll go with the best of the worst on the offensive line, and that was Shaq Mason. I only had him for 1.5 knockdowns. That's actually really good for that unit. But I thought that Shaq was the best on the team. I'm just looking quickly over Pro Football Focus's grade. They didn't have anybody on offense with higher than a 67. Which is I don't know if I've ever seen that before. And on defense, just to quickly, what I said after the game as far as my 3 up and 3 down off the game, I'm just looking for it real quick, and it was, let's see, I had Duggar and Judon, and by the way, can we say well, we'll get to the 3 down in a second.
Let's get to the 3 down right now. You can start it.
Isaiah Wynn. He's awful. I don't know what's going on with him.
I mean, he just got absolutely trucked early in this game. Like an embarrassing ass over tea.
A rookie.
Yeah.
Joe Tryon's a rookie.
Yeah, Tryon just dismissed him. I mean, that is I tweeted, I don't know what happened to Isaiah Wynn, but so far this season, he has absolutely royally sucked. And I don't know what's going on.
Absolutely.
You have a second
Second
down?
down for me. I'll go with, again, picking between. Well, let's just go with right tackle. Combination between Haran and Durant. They combined, they were not good.
Yeah, J.J. Taylor. When you get your opportunity,
Oh
don't
yeah,
fumble the
good one.
damn football. I mean, that's 3 points right there. That such a gigantic turnover. Again, like the Miami game. This game is winnable. Stop the mistakes. The Taylor fumble was huge. Who else you got, Greg?
I'm gonna go Chris Collinsworth because during the telecast,
Hold
he
on.
actually
I have Collinsworth written down. If I could, I have
nice.
I had my joke, Collinsworth. It was all lined up. You beat me to it.
Go ahead, take it away.
Oh, no, you got it. You started it. Go.
I was just gonna say. So I was listening to the broadcast during the game, and Chris Collinsworth says, Al, I think that Dietrich Wise is the best defensive player on this team. And I was just like, I just about fell out of my chair in the press box. Like, I think I coughed up a cookie or something like that. Like,
Uh,
what? This dude partially owns Pro Football Focus. Like, wait, hang on. I need to look at the season. I'll do it while you're talking. But then he also said that, Al, this Patriots defense really misses Juwan Bentley, who's really their best downhill linebacker. Like, bro, what are we doing here? Like, could you have two worse statements? But I'll let you take it away because I just
the
want to see where Pro Football Focus, Collinsworth's site, has Dietrich Wise ranked.
the Wise shit was priceless. Like, as soon as he said that, everybody watching that game that knows anything about the Patriots just stopped in their tracks, and we all felt like we were living in some kind of alternate universe. In what world is Wise the best defensive player? And like, you're watching Matthew Judon just dominate stretches of this game, and I don't know. I don't know what took over. I'm going to give him too much credit. Maybe someone took over his body, his soul, his mind. Something went wrong. Maybe he had a stroke and just try to like figure out what was. Maybe he thought it was Judon. Judon wears the sleeves, so I don't know if you could do. I don't know. That was bananas. And all of us, you could see on Twitter, everybody was like, "Did he just call Wise the best defensive player on this team?"
So I figured out why. You go to profootballfocus.com, where Chris Collinsworth is a part owner,
Oh
and
boy.
guess who is the number one rated defender on the Patriots?
Oh,
That
shameless.
would be Dietrich Wise Jr. Like,
Shameless.
this shows you this is why, like, yeah, but guess where he's ranked in Pro Football Focus? Like, come on. Seriously? Like, who watches the Patriots and thinks that Dietrich Wise is their best pound for pound defensive player? Like,
Chris
give me
Collinsworth.
Adrian Phillips, give me McCourty, give me Judon, give me a bunch of different guys. I'd
Give
even
me
take
Barmore.
Juwan Bentley over Dietrich
I
Wise.
take Barmore over Wise.
Hell yeah. Oh my God.
All right, one more
Jonathan
down.
Jones.
One more
Jeez.
down, a guy that we love, but
Oh,
I've got to say, Matthew
yep.
Slater. What the bleep? Like, what? You can't keep running out of bounds for 30 yards, Matthew. Like, you've been in the league for 100 years. You're one of the best special teams players that we've ever seen, as people would say. And you make that kind of that critical mistake and the J.J. Taylor fumble, just game-changing. Just inexcusable. The BostonSportsJournal.com member question of the day, $39.99 on their annual plan. Not only do you get top-notch analysis of all the Boston pro sports, but if you're a Pats junkie, and of course you are, then a membership at BSJ gives you access to a ton of video analysis Bedard does on the coach's film and direct access to him in weekly chats. Again, it's BostonSportsJournal.com. $39.99 on the annual plan. Greg, you let me know that you would get a question. Hopefully you got a question.
Yes, I have a question, and I am just trying to scroll for it because I had it here and
Was it
now I
on
lost it.
Facebook?
No, it's on Twitter.
Did the outage get the best of it? Oh boy. Instagram.
Let's see. Instagram. No, yeah, the outage. Where is it? Anyways, they one of the I can't find it now, but just one of the readers wanted to know, like, what is the deal with the offensive line? Why have they fallen off, and why would they fall off like this? I mean, it's a longer discussion that maybe we'll get in on Thursday, and I'll especially start asking more questions about it. But I'm astonished by this. I really wonder if look, we've talked about the second year after Dante Scarnecchia thing. I also wonder, look, maybe Cole Popovich, who was not retained or at least is on ice
Yep.
while taking the COVID shot for whatever reason. He maybe has a personal reason at home, wife pregnant, some who knows. Maybe he was sort of the tough person in that room. Maybe he got on guys' asses a little bit more. Maybe he was the bad cop to Brasillo's good cop, and it worked well last year. Whatever it is not working. And Billy Yates is now sort of the assistant offensive line coach. It's not good enough, and like it's sloppy technique stuff. Like David Andrews got beat very early in this game, and first of all, they could not block Vita Vea like to save their lives, and David Andrews just he lunged and didn't move. He stopped moving his feet. Like it's like basic stuff that I don't know. The attention to detail is missing. I think if this doesn't get cleaned up soon, like this Sunday, I think the Patriots have to make a coaching move somehow. It doesn't have to be Dante. It could be anybody else. Somebody who has a proven track record of getting guys and being hard asses and get them going, because it's not sharp. It's not sharp at all. And it's not just the offensive line. It's a bunch of different positions, and they're just still in flux. This was a baby step for the offense. It was a bigger step for the defense, but it needs to be a whole lot better.
The O-line's been a disaster. Hopefully this podcast was not a disaster and you enjoyed it. It is the Greg Bedard Podcast, Patriots Podcast. He's Greg. I'm Nick. We'll talk to you next time about the Houston Texans, I guess. We'll be back later this week. Everybody be good for the next couple days. We'll talk to you then.